Hello, hello. Dr. Brian Curtis with Fossil Crates here. Doing a quick addendum. If you haven't watched our video that just dropped on the Cristatosaurus versus Suchomimus debate over which name should be used, I won't spoil my conclusions therein. While I was working on that, I made some observations. So let's start off with real quick. 1998, this is the outline Sereno gave us. He named the holotype of Suchomimus as the GDF 500. But he doesn't give us a list anywhere of what bones are what. It's maddening, personally. And when you look at this picture, you're thinking, okay, it's a pretty big, robust, beefy hind end. Look at the femora on there. Pretty good-sized animal. Then in 2022, he gave us this beautiful document, which showcases by color what elements are where. So I went ahead and removed everything but the pink. So this is what the holotype of Suchomimus looks like. And with the caveats that the blue elements were overlain, so I had to do my best to make some decisions, but there's no cranial material preserved in the holotype, except for this little pink thing. What's that? I don't know. So I found that interesting. Maybe a stray cranial fragment, or maybe it was a miscoloration on the 2022 document. But either way, what really stood out to me as I was looking at it was the proportions of the femora to the humeri and how they resembled the 1998, or didn't resemble in this case. So let's pull these up side by side, and you can see if you just scale to the scale bar itself, the annals proportions shift slightly from 1998 to 2022. And you can see that dorsal vertebra moves. I don't know why. The sacrum moves a little forward potentially. But what struck me is look at the tiny pencil limbs. The femur, the tibia are very small in comparison to the 1998 specimen. I was like, well, that's weird. So I went and tinkered with the scale to make sure. I tried using it to the human scale, but they're at two different sizes. The skeleton of the skeletal individual is of a different size than of the silhouette if you use the scale bar as a true scale bar and assume the scale bars are the same. So I then assumed they're the same bones, so I figured the tibia is a safe one to use. I can see it very clearly. And so I took the digital scans, these here derived ostensibly from the three-dimensional scans of the original bones. And I made the tibia overlap as best I could to the drawing from 98. And when I did that, well, Popeye appears. And look at the massive humerus that results when you scale it to the tibia. So there's something amiss with the scaling of the drawing versus the digital images, which brings me to my fundamental question that I always ask, which is, well, what do you go with? If you only had the 1998, well, that's fact. You have one data point. That's just what you have to work with. You have to assume it's correct. But now a second set of data points, in this case, skeleton, was introduced. And this individual's information makes me question the original drawing. So who was right? The original was drawn by a wonderful skeletal paleo artist. But am I looking at foreshortening? Is that part of the problem? Maybe the angles are slightly different. I don't know. It's not clear to me what is going on. Ostensibly, it is a true orthogonal lateral view, and therefore they should be the same, which then led me to wonder, well, maybe the three-dimensional scans, maybe they're not directly in parallel and they're not angled, and that could account for it. But there is something amiss, I think, between the hand drawing and the scans. And if you've watched my videos or talked to me in person, you know how frustrated I get with scribbles because they never match. One artist and another artist never draw it the same way. And I'm wondering now which of these is my source of truth. Now, in the 2022 paper, they talk about the spinosaur proportions being a bit different, front heavy based on newer discoveries. But if it's a scan of the bones, that should not have been influenced by those understandings. However, these bones are all complete. So that made me wonder, are these true 3D scans of the bones? And if so, that's amazing. I mean, this skeleton is pristine from this drawing. Notice nothing is fragmentary or partial here. These are complete elements. But the other question I had then was, were the scans then rounded out if you were missing a shaft or a part of the distal end of a humerus, you draw it in. It's not clear to me. I made the assumption that these scans are of the bones, but I don't know. And that's one of the challenges. If you don't go touch the bones yourself, if there's not photographs and videos of these bones, I still haven't seen a photo of the holotype of Suchomimus. If you recall, I found, if you haven't watched the video yet, you'll see this image. This is the only GDF 500 imagery I found, and these are outlines of, what is that, a ilium or an ischial and a pubic boot and a tibia. And this was used in a paper that was looking at the distal ends of various appendicular elements. So they used outlines. I have no frame of reference. I have no photographs. It's perplexing. And I do want to know, what is this maxillary, or this bone up in the skull? Is it something tied to the holotype? Is it just an artifact of putting all these colors together? Maybe pink was mixed when we mixed greens and blues and these other grays, and maybe that happened. I don't know. You can see I use I don't know a lot, because in this scenario, I haven't touched the bones. I haven't seen the bones in person. I don't have any photographs of the bones. So I'm working off of a 1998 human drawn specimen and a 2022, theoretically, digitally 3D scanned bone scans of the specimen. And I can't get them to match proportionately. Now there's other potentials. Maybe in translation, the scale bars did not truly represent 1 meter. I don't know. Maybe human artists have a tendency to make the limb bones more robust than what the actual scan does. Could be that the angle of one of them is off versus the other. It's a mystery. I wish I had an answer for you. Maybe some of you have answers for me. Maybe you're going to be able to say, hey, BC, you're completely missing the obvious. We're illustrators. We work with this all the time. And yeah, you miss this basic issue. And that's possible too. I mean, we call it research to search again, and I am certainly always looking and looking again and again at items. So I look forward to your comments, thoughts, opinions. Help me out make this right, because I'm at a loss as to how you get the different sizes, because in theory, the lighter femora, the more gracile femora, will make the overall animal lighter. And then look at the tail difference. What's colored in the holotype tail today is different than what is suggested up there. And so keep in mind, all of these referred elements, the assumption is that there's only one taxon roaming about this part of Niger. And I don't know where all these are. Are they in the same quarry, the same hole in the ground? Are they, not that it should matter, but they maybe are far apart from each other, which could possibly be in a different formation. Lots of mysteries, lots of vagaries. You know what'll solve this? Find more material, and let's get the material that is existing out into the world. I'm Dr. Brian Curtis of Fossil Crates saying thank you kindly. Adios.